Hi everyone, I'm Shelley and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another Question the Narrative video, and today's topic is spiritual bodies, other realms, and quote, blurry creatures. Yes, you're right. I got the blurry creatures term from the popular podcast Blurry Creatures, which I really enjoy and don't get to listen to as often as I would like. But I decided to use that in the title as a blanket term for all of these folkloric creatures that people claim to see and the cryptids that people claim to see. And you're probably going to be surprised where I got the idea for this video in the first place. I was actually reading Case Dismissed, Rebutting Common Charges Against Preterism, and this video has nothing to do with preterism, but a section that I read in it really got me thinking about how all of these creatures that we often hear about, whether it comes from worldwide legends, whether it comes from people claiming that they are seeing things on their trail cams or infrared cameras. And I was just wondering, how do these things fit into this world? So I think a very good place to start is the Word of God. And let's just read 1 Corinthians 15:44. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And of course, this is talking about the resurrection. Now, I am certainly not trying to say that cryptids and fairies and elves and imps and so on are the resurrected spiritual bodies that 1 Corinthians 15:44 is talking about. However, I will at some point hopefully express to you the correlation that I found if I'm reading this the right way. So I know that I'll get lots of comments. So in this book again, and it is by Randall E. Otto, I'm just going to read some portions of a section called The Nature of the Resurrection. And I found it very interesting. And yeah, as I was reading it, the first thing that I thought of was, could this be how some of these creatures may fit into our world? So in this section, it says, J. Stuart Russell simply sees it as a spiritually transformed body, no longer generally visible to the physical eye. Murray Harris's Raised Immortal maintains that Jesus' body was transformed at his resurrection into a spiritual body characterized by invisibility and immateriality, with occasional materializations in the 40 days prior to the ascension for purposes of confirming that he was indeed resurrected. Now, before people get upset and are saying, well, this means that this person was saying that Jesus was not raised physically. No, he absolutely was raised physically. The difference between the natural body that we have now and the spiritual body would be that the spiritual body is physical at times, but it can also exist in multiple realms, which is why, for example, Jesus, other than the fact that he is God, was able to appear and disappear in random places when it came to the 40 days after the resurrection. And another thing that I really want to point out here is that I think a lot of people get the wrong idea when we use the term spiritual. For some reason, when people hear things like spiritual realms, or this happens spiritually, or spiritual bodies, they seem to think that that means some invisible realm that isn't as real as ours. And it is my firm belief that the spiritual realm is by far more real than our realm. Our realm is but a shadow of the spiritual realm. And right now we only see a portion of what there actually is. And that once we are in that spiritual realm, we will be able to see all of those things. And yes, I do believe that when we are in that spiritual realm, we will have spiritual bodies, which again will also be physical. But I believe that we will have the ability to dematerialize as well. The last section that I'm going to share with you today from this book will hopefully tie it together, because the author speaks much more eloquently about this than I do, so I am just going to share this. He says, as was mentioned above, the issues involved in the Geisler-Harris debate are not limited to any particular eschatological perspective. Nonetheless, full preterists have found much in Harris's work to support their view of the resurrection body. The resurrection of Jesus was not his transformation into an immaterial body, but his acquisition of a spiritual body which could materialize or dematerialize at will. When, on occasion, Jesus chose to appear to various persons in material form, this was just as really the spiritual body of Jesus as when he was not visible or tangible. After the 40 days, when his appearances on earth were ended, Jesus assumed the sole mode of being visible to the inhabitants of heaven, but having a non-fleshly body. From my own study of the glory of God revealed to humanity in the theophanies of Scripture and consummately in the person of Christ, I must concur with Harris. Since it is not possible for anyone to see God's glory and live, a glory which Christ in his resurrection resumed, and it tells us this in John 17:5, Christ must have been immaterial and invisible most of the time following his resurrection, save at times to reveal himself in often unrecognizable ways to the disciples, who were sometimes ensconced behind closed doors for the purpose of verifying his resurrection. When he did so materialize, he would also have veiled the glory which no one can see and live. In the days following his resurrection, Jesus was normally invisible to men, for his body, having now participated in his glorification, was spiritual and incapable of being seen except by the rest of the spiritual realm. The invisibility of his body also rendered his glory invisible. When, on the other hand, Jesus desired to make himself visible to men, he could do so in varying degrees of substantiality. Contrary to his pre-resurrection body, which completely veiled the divine glory from men, Jesus' resurrection body now participated in that glory and thus permitted the manifestation of his divine glory in reverse proportion to the extent of the materialization of his body to approximate his pre-resurrection appearance. That this approximation to his pre-resurrection body was not the norm, however, seems evident from the relatively infrequent appearances he made in the days following his resurrection, the way he generally does appear, like coming through secured doors apparently out of nowhere, though actually simply from a different realm, that of the spirit, and the numerous instances in which he walks incognito among those who should have recognized him. So again, I want to make it very clear that what this is saying is that a spiritual body is not just some invisible body that no one is ever going to see, that isn't physical in any way. The spiritual body is a physical body, but it obtained characteristics that our own natural body does not have. So now this is where I started to think about how we know for a fact that we have our realm and we have the spiritual realm. Okay. And actually, let's go to, there's an interesting blog post by the Naked Bible blog, and it's called The Biblical View of Ghosts. And I'm just going to read a part of it, but this is just to demonstrate the spiritual realm. It says, we're going to start with the Old Testament, though that 3/4 of the Bible that so often gets deliberately ignored. Hey, I'm an OT scholar, so it's personal, or is just too weird to try and understand. There are actually a number of terms in the Hebrew Old Testament for inhabitants of the spiritual realm, the place where you go when you die. They include Ob, a spirit that could be contacted by a medium or a possessed medium; Yedioni, a spirit that has knowledge humans do not; Metim, spirit of the dead; Itim, ghosts; Elohim, gods. Bet this one surprised you. Rephaim, spirit of a dead giant warrior, or Gibber. Another surprise, I'll bet. And then he just goes on to say, a lot of the scholarly literature suggests that a clear distinction can't be made between Obat, the plural of Ob, and Metim. or metim. I think that the former refers to non-human spirits, essentially demons, and so the word is a synonym of shadim, and the latter are the disembodied spirits of human dead, like ghosts. If this distinction can be clearly made that there are non-human spirits and ghosts, and those are separate categories, we'll have a good bit of data to begin thinking about a biblical view of ghosts. So, and then he just goes on to talk more about this. This was from 2008. I'll leave a link in the description because I do think that he has other articles in this series if you wanted to look into this further. And I just wanted to share it with you just to show you that, we have our realm, we have the spiritual realm. And, now is where, a lot of my speculation will come in is, are there other realms as well? Because I can't help but think of, again, these other creatures, these other cryptids, these other fairies, elves, imps, gnomes, trolls, Bigfoot, Mothman, even lake monsters. The way that so many people say that they can just dematerialize, that they're there 1 minute and they're gone the next. Or sometimes they will just show up like on trail cam footage. They will show up on infrared cameras. And I've had people come in the comments from my own videos to tell me that they caught these things on their cameras. I wish that they would post them on YouTube if they have them, or send them to me. I would love that. But there are a lot of people who claim these things. And so, it just got me to thinking is if it's possible that it's something very similar to that they have a physical body, but they have a different form of a physical body that is able to exist in more than just our realm. So that's like the whole premise of this idea that I got as I was reading through this, because, it's something that I've had an issue with when it comes to, okay, well, to my knowledge, the Bible does not speak about fairies and trolls and all of these things. But, I always say the Bible is about us. It's our story. And so my question is, and again, this is speculation, I do wonder if there are other realms besides our realm and the heavenly realm. Are there other realms where these creatures do exist? And if they are able to, from time to time show up where we are, and that we simply don't have that level of existence that they do not have, that they are able to do that, but we will one day have the best level of existence. We will have that resurrection body. We will have that spiritual body that, yes, has a material form and can dematerialize at will. And that's really what this whole video was about. I just wanted to share it with you because I found it all really, really interesting. But yeah, I'm looking here in my notes, and that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. And if you like my work and would like to support my channel, I will leave a link in the description for my YouTube membership, or you can just click on it right on my channel page. And I hope you have a great day.